The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending. We're going to be putting on a webinar here on Emissions Reductions Alberta's Energy Saving for Business program that just launched on February 1st. The presenters today are going to be myself, Brian Douglas. I am the VP of Sales. I've been riding this crazy solar coaster since 2005. I run the sales team across Canada. A lot of you on the recognize a lot of the names on the attendees online here, so some of you have dealt with me in the past. Yeah, we're looking forward to an exciting 2021, of which includes a new member, the newest member of our team, which is Jeff MacAulay, who has stepped into a CEO role. He comes from a green tech history, and we're really excited to have him on board. So if I could hand it off to you, Jeff.
Great, thanks, Brian. Yeah, as Brian said, my name is Jeff MacAulay. I've been here for just over 4 weeks now, so getting up to speed on the company, and very happy to be here in the Canadian solar market. Go ahead, Brian, on the slide. I'm going to just speak to a few introductory slides and then hand it back to Brian to go over some of the details of the program. So I just wanted to hit 3 points out of the gate here. For those of you that aren't very familiar with our company, we have 12 full-time team members in Alberta, specifically serving the Alberta market. That's not just for this program, but on a regular basis. Our team has been working in the Alberta market since the late 90s, and we've had a dedicated office as HES in the Alberta market for just under 10 years. For this program specifically, we've already increased inventory intentionally in both our Calgary and Edmonton warehouses to prepare for any additional volume in this program. So really looking to make sure you're well supported in region. Behind our 12 local team members, we have a total of 46 team members across our Canadian team overall for the company. And so I'll show you a quick map of where those folks are located, but I just wanted to speak to that to provide some confidence on the depth of experience to help you with any design work, engineering services. I'll go through what services are available, but we've got certainly a depth beyond the existing Alberta team to support them. And finally, on the partnership front, we did register as an approved contractor in this program, specifically to learn about what that process looked like and to help any of you in the event that you weren't able to register. So we've heard stories, for example, of addresses with a residential address couldn't be registered. So if anyone had any registration issues, we'd be happy to help you out with our approved registration. But on the partnership front, I also just wanted to mention that for clarity, we will not be pursuing any end customers directly. So you don't have to worry about HES competing with you in this market for this program to go after businesses directly. Next slide. Great. Just again, a lot of you know us that are on this call and know all of these services already, but for those of you that don't, in addition to providing you with any parts that are needed, any solar equipment in region with local warehousing, we also offer the following services. So upfront system design and engineering, commissioning work. So again, people that are already in the province can come out and help with any of that commissioning work, upfront or ongoing performance prediction and system analysis. Training, and this training could be for your sales team, your technical teams, potentially an end customer, whatever you have in mind. We've probably done some training on that topic in the past. We also have an increasingly so a marketing team to support you if you want to do any joint campaigns or get help with any of the collateral that we have from ourselves or the manufacturers that we work with. Let us know and we'd be happy to help. And then finally, web development and SEO. So we have some out-of-the-box templates for you if you wanted to create a specific website, then we've got some starting positions to help our partners in the market. Go ahead, Brian. Yeah, I'll just wrap here. I wanted to just show, the locations. So clearly we're here to talk today about Alberta, but again, we have a broader set of facilities. So in the event that we are out of inventory on a specific component. A regular thing for us is to be sharing across all of these locations, and this represents locations for offices as well as warehouses, and they're pretty overlap, but there's some differences there on the list, and we can share resources or equipment across these different regions. Next slide. Great. I'm going to pass the microphone back to Brian, and he's going to go over some of the details of the ERA program.
Perfect. Just as a quick housekeeping as well, we also have Dwayne Fex on the line, who's the regional sales manager. At the end of this presentation, we're going to open it up to a question and answer that can be directed to any one of myself, Jeff, or Dwayne, if you have some local questions on it. So we just go through that. We aren't looking at rehashing the entire webinar of which the ERA put on. Those webinars, they put 2 of them online. They're both on their website, which I'll send a link to afterwards. But I am going to go over some of the broad strokes about what the ERA is. So they have a mandate to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and grow Alberta's economy by accelerating the development and adoption of innovative technologies. So their goal is to accelerate some of the technologies that may have been a little stagnant in the marketplace or need a little bit of a boost to drive the commercialization of those and maximize the impact, while creating a profitable and sustainable model for businesses to have an economic upside in these crazy times that we're living in right now. So what the Energy Savings for Business program within the ERA was launched with was a $55 million incentive fund. The program is for small to medium scale businesses and commercial projects, primarily to create and preserve jobs, generate energy cost savings, stimulate the economy, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So again, creating skilled jobs, increasing business competitiveness, boost economic recovery. As we said, that's a huge topic right now, and lower the carbon future. So there is still a fairly large focus on greenhouse gas reduction technologies within this Energy Savings for Business program. The overview is that the application period launched on February 1st. The eligible projects are actually able to be retroactive back to November 2nd. So those retroactive eligible program or projects could be submitted up until March 1st. So even if you had a project that was installed up until late last year, you might be able to take advantage of this incentive. The incentive is up to $250,000 per project and up to $500,000 per company applying for these projects. And the minimum incentive amount is as low as $1,000. So I'll get into the math a little bit in a future slide, but that does open it up to a fairly wide range of applications that you can get into. Eligibility requirements. Basically, if you are registered as a business or corporation or society, cooperative, nonprofit, or charity, and you own your own facility, and it's used for business, and it's in Alberta, and it's been operating for at least a year, you are eligible. One of the things that they highlighted in their presentation is that if you receive more than 50% of your funding for your company or nonprofit or building from the government, then you are not eligible. So that was kind of one of their litmus tests on eligibility. Also residences, federally owned buildings, publicly funded institutions, large emitters, and brand new construction are ineligible. So this is kind of a journey through the registration process. So you review your program materials and you register on the portal. You complete the pre-approval application, which takes a couple days for the ERA to get back to you and approve you as a contractor or your project to be approved. So then you accept the terms and condition. You initiate the project, of which you have a 6-month window to install and complete after you've been accepted into the program. So that means if you were accepted, you know, that a lot of these projects are going to be installed before the end of August, in that kind of time window. Once the project is completed, you go through a post-project application process, which takes 2 to 10 days for the ERA to approve your project being done. Then you provide banking info, and then it's a 4 to 6 weeks from the banking info to be provided with your completed project before you will receive your incentive. So that kind of gives you your window of, you know, it's anywhere from a almost an 8-month process as on the long end, and they are trying to push for these to go a little bit faster than that window through the journey. So their eligibility is that you need to comply with the existing microgen regulation, which basically means you need to be approved for interconnect with the utility, that your PV must be used within the facility, so you can't have it as a third-party location or a virtual net metering application, that the minimum solar yield must be 75% of the optimal solar design. So that means no north-facing installations or installations in very shaded areas, or you must be able to yield 75% of optimal, which isn't that difficult. That means you can still face east and west. That you must be in good standing with one of the associations, that being Solar Alberta, CanREA, or the Electrical Contractors Association of Alberta. So you do need membership with and good standing with one of those. Then you need to comply with their terms and conditions of the ERA, and you cannot use existing PV components on the system as part of the incentive. So the incentive is broken into 2 tranches. One of them is from the low end, which I'll show you in the next slide, is about just under 2 kilowatts to 15 kilowatts, gets 65 cents a watt, up to a maximum of 25% of the cost of the system. And then systems all the way from 15 kilowatts to 2 megawatts get an incentive of 50 cents a watt. So this is a very aggressive incentive program that is a 25% of the cost of the system, makes it very economically viable. So there's very exciting numbers. The ranges of sizes. So the minimum at $1,000 incentive, taking advantage of their 65 cents a watt times 4, at $260 a watt, is a $4,000 system of just under 1.6 kilowatts, which is only 4 solar panels. So you can see that it actually ranges very, very attractive even on the low end. You can do multiple small systems if you want. So that's anywhere from 4 panels up into the maximum, which is 2 megawatts for their program, which is 9,000 solar panels roughly. So yeah, you can do anywhere between those ranges is viable for this program. So the commercial products that are commonly used in small business, are Longy solar panels, Q-cell solar panels, LG, SMA inverters, Fronius inverters, SolarEdge inverters, very common on inverters. And then we carry our Fast Track line of product, which works in ground mount, roof mount, and ballasted mount applications for commercial solar installs. The inverter recommendations, Fronius has building blocks all the way from, low of 5 to high of 24 kilowatt building blocks. Their commercial products in 208 and 480 volt is in the 10 kilowatt and higher. SMA has a range all the way up to 150 kilowatt size of inverter. SolarEdge has their 100 kilowatt available, and I believe they have 120 coming in this year. They're all very viable and readily in stock equipment that we move very, very commonly into commercial applications. High density 72 cell solar panels are generally used in commercial applications. They want to maximize the amount of solar that you can fit on a roof, which means higher density is much more popular. So we have Q-cell, Hanwha Q-cells in the 425 watt panel availability. We have Longi that are in the 440 to 450 watt availability. And then we have the LG Neon in around the 400 watt availability. Now these are in the optimal density to cost bucket. So they're at a really aggressive cost point, and at as you can see, a high density for a 72 cell. So we have seen these been the most uptake in the commercial market has been along the lines of these three major products. Commercial mounting systems. So we have a ballasted solution. It's ideal for flat roofs. You can do it up into a 7-degree slope if you have a mechanical attachment, but for flat to 2-degree slope, this is a very good solution. Uses ballast trays, so you don't have to penetrate the roof. You can outline up to a 10-degree tilt as the industry is getting away from the higher tilt angles that have more weight required to keep them on the roof, and you can't fit as many with a higher tilt angle on the roof as you can with a lower tilt angle. These are generally around 5 to 8 pounds per square foot on roof capacity. So in order to use these, we have an intake form that we can put together. You can ask your sales rep for that intake form. We can provide the details required to put together a preliminary ballast plan. I won't go through the entire intake form here, but essentially you're just trying to get as much details about the roof as possible, and whether we can put together an optimal solution for this commercial roof line. So yeah, ask your sales rep for a copy of that if you have a flat roof application. This is kind of what the ballast plan preliminary would look like. It'll be a model of what you can expect from the system, and it'll tell you the weight and distribution for your application. You get a lot of questions about azimuth, like should I tilt my panels towards true south? As you can see from this slide, going to absolute south on a roof line would yield only a 3% greater output rather than being off by 35 degrees. So it makes a lot more sense to go to the roof line and be off by 3% power yield to be able to fit 23% more solar panels on this roof line. So we do take that into account on the south direction and azimuth to try to maximize the amount of panels that you can fit on your roof line. So do keep in mind that it's not always in the best interest to go absolutely true south on your installations. So just a key takeaway from this. But HESPV is not just an authorized distributor for that short list of commercial product that I had on there. We also deal with Enphase, AP Systems. Basically, if it's in the industry and it's been around and it's a reputable product that's been around for a long time, we will have a distribution agreement in place, and we'll carry all those products. We also have a host of off-grid products in stock for outside of this program, as the program does have to be a microgen compliance. So that's some of the questions that came in, is whether you could apply this to an off-grid, and unfortunately you can't. But we do have all of this equipment available in both our Edmonton and our Calgary offices. As Jeff had said in his previous slide, we're here for more than just product supply. We do system design and engineering, commissioning, performance prediction, and system analysis. We're here for a whole host of different types of training. Like you said, it can be as simple as a lunch and learn on your boardroom, like a webinar specifically catered to your company, or it can be more in depth. We do have our training upcoming, which is a web series. We're going to have a series of webinars hosted on every Tuesday and Thursday for an hour and a half that'll be focusing on-grid and off-grid specialties. Some of the highlights include some industry updates from the CanREA team, some utility updates directly from some of the utility guys, and almost all the major manufacturers will be speaking during that training. So make sure you talk to your sales rep and that you get registered for that training that's upcoming. It's in lieu of our in-person trainings, so we are putting a lot of effort and focus into getting you guys the best value that we can on this digital training. We're here for marketing and lead generation. We, as Jeff alluded, we are not here to take your business. We get leads from end user applications and we pass those on to our dealers all the time. We have great SEO on our own website, so we're able to convert that into end user and commercial leads that we can then pass on to our dealer network. But yeah, at this point, I'll open it up to any questions. I'm just going to check in the chat and the question section of.
Right, I'll help you with the first one here.
Sure.
The first question is, will we get a copy of the presentation? Maybe you can address that for the whole group.
Yeah, this is being recorded, so we will be able to post a link to this this presentation after the fact. Our marketing team will be able to send that out. So it normally comes within a day or two after the presentation. So if you don't get a link, make sure to reach out to your sales rep or to Dwayne, and we'll make sure that we get you set up.
Great. And Brian, the next question is, can systems include batteries and backup?
They can, but my understanding is that that's not covered in any of the incentive because it's a DC wattage incentive. It is specifically on the amount of PV panels that you have in there. And because it's capped at 25% of the system price, I don't think you'd be able to fit batteries into the incentive itself. Now, that's not to say that you can't install a system and then add storage after the fact. So they're very much symbiotic possibilities for these applications, but the incentive is not directed at a battery-based incentive. But that's a great question.
Great. The next one was, can you review the process for a business to apply for this program? And let me just expand, hold on. Just read the rest of it. Do we do that on behalf of the customer, or do they need to create an account and start the process? So really, this is about how to start the application process, Brian, whether it's
Sure.
Done by the dealer installer or the end customer.
That was dove into a little bit during their webinar, and basically there's two ways that you can do it, both of which you have described. So you can apply on behalf of an end user as a licensed contractor. You just have to state that during the application process that you're applying on behalf of somebody, or the end user can apply and state which licensed contractor they are planning on using for their project. So it works both directions. Most companies have taken it upon themselves to focus on putting their application in for their end users. It just makes it a little bit more simple, and you get a little bit closer to the project as you're doing it that way.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that you do need to be an approved contractor, of course, to start that application, just as a reminder. And it will ask for the end customer information so they can validate it's an eligible end customer site as well, the business itself. So you just need both of those pieces of information, and then, as Brian said, either one can apply. Okay. Let's see, what does it mean business must be registered? A farm is usually a sole proprietor. So go ahead, Brian. Do you want to take
that was one of the issues of that they were coming up against during their application process, was getting farms through that. I don't want to call it a loophole, but they were basically stating that they were not registered as a business, but what they were able to do instead was make sure that the farm was paying the business rate power class, from the utility, and if they were doing that, then they were eligible for the program. Now, I believe that it requires a bit of a workaround, or you have to work with the ERA to get the application through, being that they don't have a business license specifically. But I do know that they were eligible after you were able to prove that they're on a business rate class for their power consumption.
All right, thanks, Brian. The next one was, can you discuss off-roof mounting systems available from HES?
Yeah, we have a whole host of ground mount application. We have, yeah, there's top of pole mount, as you're discussing in your question, for single pedestal pole mount, but more commonly and more economically is our fast track 2-tier ground mount. And we actually have a component generator on our website that goes through what materials you would require for our 2-tier ground mount. So it is a portrait style 2-high panel system that goes in perpetuity. You can go anywhere from a 4-panel array all the way through to an entire field of them. So yes, we have those. And the benefit of our 2-tier ground mount solution is it's built in-house, and we can generally have product readily available between 2 and 4 week delivery, whereas a majority of ground mount installs generally take a lot longer for them to get that product in-house or in and available to the installer. So we do have a very good just-in-time delivery system on our ground mount. Looks like there's a follow-up question. I don't know if I've lost Jeff here, but basically, do home-based offices fit in, or are they absolutely excluded? My understanding is that they are excluded because a home-based office is a percentage of your building. Even if it's half your home, you're only using it for a third of the day, so it's a third of a half of the home. So I don't believe that you can qualify in under the program. Another one of the questions is, I'd mentioned north facing and a roof. Their panels in both north and south to yield more than 75%. Can they still qualify? Yeah, their criteria is only that you meet a 75% power output requirement. So they don't focus on anything more than that. So as long as your yield is at least the optimal 75% of an optimal yield, you should qualify for the install.
Okay, and for those on the webinar that haven't seen the Q&A section, it should be an option on the right-hand side in your control panel, and people are just typing in questions. So we don't have any additional ones, but if you haven't seen that section in your GoToWebinar control panel, maybe have a look now.
Okay, well, looks like we have run dry on, oh, there's another one trickling in. The question is whether the business needs to have the utility under the business name versus under their personal name. That would be something that you would have to ask the ERA directly, as that's more of a paperwork, basically workaround. So that'll be something that you would have to pose directly to them. I don't know the answer to that. But yeah, if there's anything, Dwayne, do you have anything you want to reach out to the group?
I don't have anything specific, except that for anyone that needs information, definitely please feel free to email your representative, or you can email myself or give us a call. Remember, if you're having trouble becoming a contractor, that we have the ability to move that process along for you, with us being a certified contractor already, we can do that for you. And yeah, there's lots of opportunity. Hopefully we can make the best of it.
You bet. There's been a few other questions trickle in. Basically, is this program going to be offered next year? We don't know. They're given an incentive fund, and whether that gets re-upped or how quickly this gets prescribed may change how much funding it gets in, but we don't know at this time. And another question, basically, that we do have a top of pole mount for 12 panels. We have a 3, 4, 6, and 12. And yes, we manufacture those essentially in-house, although their point of manufacturing is in Ontario. So they're manufactured in Ontario. The other question is whether places of worship are eligible, and I believe that they had that listed on their eligible criteria list on this slide. No, so they don't list that under their listing for a place of worship. So that would be another question that we would have to take offline to the ERA.
Brian, there's another one here. Does HES have an awning style solar mounted solar mount? I'll leave it at that.
We currently don't have a full system for that, although we have the ability to work with existing infrastructure and superstructures that are built already. And yes, we do have a bifacial solution that can be used in those applications. But we don't have a turnkey out-of-the-box awning solution. Generally, we work with either a carport or an awning design that's existing already, and then we apply our product base on top of that. The business based in Alberta as a branch, my understanding is that the branch still qualifies as long as it's doing business and registered for business in Alberta as an application. There's a couple more questions trickling through.
Yep.
Go ahead, you can ask.
Yeah, I was just gonna read one of them out, Brian. Once we identify an eligible business, how can HES and us as a distributor work together to help us go through the process, given the fact that HES has a great reputation and engineering team?
Great question. We can help you through. Generally, you'll be onboarding the ERA portion of it, which is the application portion to become an eligible contractor. Or an eligible end user site, and then we can facilitate any of the other portions of that you're having any difficulty with. So whether that's the utility interaction or electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, anything that you're having issues with, just bring it to your rep's attention, and we have a team of mechanical and electrical engineers, plus the relationships with the local utility that we're more than happy to lean on to try to help you get your project to fruition. So don't be afraid to ask, and we won't be afraid to try to help you get your job.
Brian, there's one about what does each panel weigh? Skill testing question for you, Brian.
Skill testing question, between 40 and 50 pounds, depending on whether it's a 60 or 72 cell module. So in and around that weight. It sounds like an icebreaker. What does a polar bear weigh? Kind of same question.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're kind of trickling through the questions now. So I think at this point we'll take any of the questions offline that you want to email in or type in right now. And I do thank everybody for attending this this presentation, and we look forward to doing business with you guys in the future. So thanks again, and thank you all the co-presenters, and yeah, make sure to reach out to Dwayne and his team locally. We have sales@hespv.com, or you can reach out to your individual sales rep.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you all.